On screen, you may see me on Sky Sports doing Soccer Saturday, doing Soccer Special. I work with Liverpool as well, covering many games as a pundit, as a commentator, as a reporter. So my title is a freelance journalist, where I love covering football matches, commentating and reporting.
Just start with how you moved to North End sort of came about, because obviously you'd been at Liverpool for quite a while.
Yeah.
You came through the academy there as well, did you?
Came through the academy at Liverpool.
Yeah. Broke into the first team.
Had a spell in the first team, had a couple of loan spells before moving to Preston North End.
Did you go to West Ham as well?
First loan spell was West Ham. That was a big learning experience for me. Because the manager got sacked 2 weeks after me signing for him, which was Glenn Roeder. He gets sacked, and straight away I'm on a season-long loan thinking, what's happening here?
Yeah.
So that was difficult. My second loan spell was at Wigan, and we agreed a permanent deal with a fee with Liverpool, but injury cut that short.
Yeah.
So then Wigan were in the Premier League at the time under Paul Jewell.
Yeah.
So I came back, had more rehabilitation with my knees, and then there was options for what was next. Rafa had said that it was time to move on from Liverpool, Rafa Benitez. And there was one option to sign for Aston Villa, who were, I think they finished 4th or 5th in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But that was only a loan, and I didn't want to go on loan because I knew that I was injured. I was struggling with my knees. And so the club I was going to sign for knew they were going to sign me injured. It was a case of rehabilitating that knee. And Preston was one that showed the most interest, which was Paul Simpson at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a no-brainer to me because Preston were a side knocking on the door of the Premier League. The location was perfect.
Yeah.
I didn't know a great deal about them before. Obviously, I was aware that they were...
aware of them.
Aware of Preston, that knocking on the door sort of thing of the Premier League, and it excited me to go there. What I didn't realise was they had so many strikers already. So I'd gone into a squad thinking, what's going on here? And also a big problem for me when I arrived at Preston was... on the day I signed, Preston fans are thinking, right, great, we've signed this young kid from Liverpool. How good's he going to be? But I had to have 2 operations before I'd even play any game time for Preston. So straight away, there was a frustration there, which isn't an ideal start for any player when you sign injured.
No, I can imagine it being quite difficult. But what were the fans like with you, sort of, obviously having signed injured with the...
Preston fans?
Yeah.
I suppose it's a frustration because I want to play, but I'm injured. The manager knew I was injured.
Yeah.
So when the manager signed me, he knew it was a long term in terms of we'll get you right and you'll play.
Yeah.
But if you're a supporter, you want to see what the new player's going to be. You want to see if you can come into the team and score goals. And so that was difficult to settle into a new club. I'm trying to get trust of my new teammates, and they're seeing that I'm in the treatment table before I'm out training. So that was a big challenge for me, and something that I had to earn the trust of harder for new players, as opposed to if you go in fit, you can show them straight away. I had to wait a while to show them what I could do.
It's not even like you could have got into training, is it?
No.
So who was in the dressing room at the time? Like, as in, what was it like? Was it a tough one to come into, or were they quite welcoming? Or
big characters. Big characters. It was a hard-working squad. You know, you think back to sort of Graham Alexander, great pro. He was in there, big voice within the dressing room. Paul McKenna, knew the football club inside out. Again, standards were very high in training. We had Danny Dicchio, Brett Ormanrod, Carlo Nash was the goalkeeper, Matty Hill, Yulma Weni. There was Callum Davidson. There was a lot of experienced boys within that dressing room. And Preston had been knocking on the door of the playoffs, so they'd been used to doing well as well. So the levels were high to want to get to that next level, which was obviously the Premier League.
Yeah, because it was off the back of Billy Davis leaving, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That you came in. So were you in the squad that year that we were top at Christmas?
Yeah. But again, I don't think I'd made my debut by then. So I think we were top in the January. And did you bring in Michael Ricketts in that January? My first
Michael Ricketts and I think Pavel Pergel.
Yeah.
Because Billy Davis had said about, I've got 2 teams at the top of the
Yeah,
league.
yeah.
And by all accounts, Simo didn't really.
It wasn't a nice thing to say, was it?
Not really, but that's football, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's football.
So I don't know if I made my first start, maybe that January or February, which was Southampton at home. Scored on me on my first start. Gareth Bale was playing for Southampton that day. We turned them over 3-1 at Deepdale. Me and Nuge up front. That was
the dream team.
That was good. I enjoyed that. That was a good moment. Sadly, I was managing the knee to try and get consistency out of the performance to be out there fully fit.
Yeah. So what was Simo like then? Was it sort of when it came to you signing? Was it as much the manager as the opportunity, or was it more one than the other? Or
I'd probably say less so the manager.
Yeah.
It was more about the club, the location, where I thought the club was going, in the direction it was. That's what really excited me.
Yeah.
And Simo, I knew him as a sort of a player that he'd obviously played for City, as a younger player for Derby. So I knew him as a player in terms of playing at the top level of the game. And he wanted to sign me, so I felt wanted by him. So it all made sense.
What's not to like then?
Yeah.
So you've done a chapter for the new North End Souls book, which is out.
Yeah.
When I spoke to the author of the book, and I think I spoke to Sedgy as well, a little bit about it, that pre-season trip to America.
Huh.
What was that like from your sort of point of view? Was it worthwhile or
no? Not at all. I've come from Liverpool, a team which had won the Champions League, competing in the Premier League, to what I thought was a club that was knocking on the door of the Premier League, and it was a big shock to me. We've gone to America, and I think unfortunately for Paul Simpson and the coaching staff, the deal that they had been sold in terms of the pre-season trip wasn't actually what appeared to happen. So we've gone there, so we're expecting to train every day. Yeah. The training facilities aren't ready, so we're having to train on a park. And then the matches that were arranged were on AstroTurf, so half the squad weren't even in any condition to play on that surface because they couldn't train for days after. This is pre-season, which ultimately is the time to get fit. It's where you're doing three sessions a day, really pushing your body in a tough.
So how do them pre-season trips come about then? Is it not? I mean, I don't know what it is now, but back then was it not a case of, because from a fan's point of view, it came across as if it was the club and everything that was organised it, but is it not? Is it like sold to the club as a package?
I would have thought so. I'm presuming that whoever was dealing with the club, I said, we'll come over to the West Coast of America, we'll look after you.
Really
but basically, for however long we were there, I felt as though I was shopping more than I was playing football. That's training.
Not what you want.
I think I played one game, that was it, and this was pre-season. It was... And the problem is, if you don't have a good pre-season, you're not well prepared for what is a gruelling season in the Championship, and that proved to be the case. We were well short. I think that was the pre-season when Simo eventually got sacked. So it was just after we'd finished 7th. Yeah. And then that pre-season, for whatever reason, and I'm not blaming the manager, but whoever sold him the deal, he was stitched up, and unfortunately for him, the players were not in any condition to have a full season in the Championship.
Yeah. So obviously Simo left, Alan came in, and I'm going to guess you're going to say the same as other players that I've spoken to that played under him, but he was up there as one of the best you've worked under.
He was unbelievable. From the first day he came in, it was almost like, I think I described it in the book as like a cloud being lifted. Now I experienced Rafa Benitez, who was a top quality manager, tactician, but this guy Alan Irvine came from Everton, and from day one, whether you played, whether you're on the bench, whether you're in the stand, not involved, he made sure that every day for training you look forward to going in. So the training sessions were good fun, but I was getting better and I was learning more about the game. It was absolutely brilliant. It was so enjoyed every day working under him. There was times I was in the team, there was times I wasn't in the team. He was fantastic, absolutely brilliant, and I always felt as though he got a tough deal when he left Preston. But even after that, he left Preston, which I thought was unfair. He left Sheffield Wednesday when we were seventh in the league. I thought it was unfair. He left West Brom when they weren't in the bottom three of the Premier League, which I thought was unfair. He left Norwich when they were absolutely fine.
He's had a bad deal, hasn't he?
He's had a bad deal, but he was a top coach and a brilliant manager. I really enjoyed working under him.
From the man management point of view as well.
Man management.
Brilliant.
It was,
I mean, the fact that you just said that some days you're in the team, some days you're out, and
no one wants to be out the team, but I'm going in there to work hard because I know the sessions are going to be good.
Yeah,
I know I'll get a chance to show what I can do and hopefully get back into the team.
Yeah, and at the time as well, I think he had a lot of sort of big characters in the dressing room as well, didn't he? Because he brought Parky in.
He brought Parky in on a Friday night, so he signed John Parky from Stoke. Nowadays, you can get your info quite easily on the social media, on the internet. Back then, no one had even heard of John Parkin. I think there was maybe one or two. Oh yeah, he's a lad from Stoke. He's a big centre forward. So when he walked through the door Saturday morning, Saturday lunchtime, day of a game at Deepdale, we're playing Crystal Palace at home. It was the first time we'd ever seen him. And I swear to God, some people were thinking he was the new kit man. Yeah. It was like, who's this guy? So he comes in, and sure enough, the manager put him straight into the starting lineup.
I was going to say, I remember it.
Was it Palace or Charlton? I can't remember which game it was.
It was one of the two, but I think it was in the LEP this Saturday morning that he'd signed that night.
Okay.
And obviously, he used to go with like my dad and my granddad. We were thinking like, oh, no signing, like maybe he'll be on the bench.
Yeah, straight in the team.
Squad.
So it was me and him up top. And I mean, obviously the fans got to love Parky, but he's somebody that will never be the highest in terms of running distance.
Oh yeah.
I don't think he wins headers as a centre forward. He's a big lad, but he's a handful. He's a presence, and I worked off him in that sense. So he caused problems for the defenders. I scored that day. He never scored, and I'll always remember afterwards. We'd won the game 2-1, and Irvine said, "If you didn't know who John Parkin was, you do now." He was magnificent today, and bang, he walked out the door, and he played really well that day, but didn't score.
And then he had a shocker the week after, didn't he?
That sounds about right. Yeah, John Parkin. But that was
that
Parkin.
old cliche that seems to surround him. He's got good feet for a big man.
Yeah,
which he does. To be fair,
he was a good teammate. He was brilliant within a dressing room. So you talk about characters within the dressing room, and on the pitch, he was an absolute handful. He had his off days, but more often than not, exactly. But one of Parky's favourite shouts was, "Listen, lads, I know I'm not very good at football, but I'm just doing my best." And that's, I mean, within the football world, if you're a player, there's a lot of players who have an ego. Nobody likes to admit they're not very good, but Parky would. "Lads, I know I'm not very good. I'm just doing what I can out there." And so that was appealing in itself.
Yeah, kind of warmed you to him a little bit more than maybe if it had come in being Billy Big Bollocks or whatever. I mean, I think when Alan left, it was a bit of a shock to me. I spoke about it on the episode with Chris. I think he said that he was in the Trafford Centre and Lonners called him and said the gaffer's gone, and he said I was like gobsmacked, couldn't believe it. And I think the fans were maybe split a little bit. I think there was some that were in agreement with it, and then I think there was others that. I think there was others that were on the maybe he did get a bit of a bad rap sort of thing.
I've seen managers get sacked and a dressing room seeing it coming and saying, "Glad that's happened."
Yeah.
I would say 90%, if not more, were like, didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
Gutted.
Yeah.
I was in his office that afternoon because I hadn't played in the previous game. I don't know who it was against. Probably had my worst spell ever of not scoring a goal. It was a number of games. So I've knocked on his door and I said, "Gaffer, you're going to get me back in the team. What do I need to do to get back into the team?"
Yeah.
He said, keep working hard in training, and I'll get you back in as soon as I can."
Yeah.
And that was fine. That was 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I've gone home. An hour later, I'm hearing he's gone. And me and him are talking about how we can kick on to get back towards the playoffs last year, right? We can get in there again. We'll learn from last season, and we can go one better and get promoted. Yeah. There was a genuine belief within that squad of players that we'd missed out the previous season on the playoffs to Sheffield United when we underperformed. We were better than them. They played ugly, and they done us on the
Kevin
the two legs.
The way he set them
They done us, so we were hurting from that. But we all thought, with the squad we had, we'd get back in the playoffs. Without a doubt, we thought playoffs. So it was a big shock to us.
Yeah. That Sheffield United game in there. Well, both of them.
If Parky scores at 1-0 at Deepdale, he hits the post from the corner.
Different story, isn't it?
There's no way back for them. I think who was the kid? Was it Howard scored a screamer at Deepdale, and then down there it was Holford scored.
I was going to say Greg Holford scored it there.
Billy Jones off the line. I was stood on the line, and I don't know who the defender was. It hit him on the line. That was the equaliser last minute. It wasn't to be, and it would have been Burnley in the final.
Just on Billy Jones, were you still at the club when we played Burnley and we ended up losing 4-3 and he got sent off?
No.
He got booked in the first half, I think. And I swear to God, it's the only time I've ever seen it in football. He got his second booking for taking too long with the throw-in.
Jonesy.
And he didn't... I mean, obviously I'm going to be a bit biased because I'm a North End fan, but he genuinely didn't take that long with the throw-in.
No, Jonesy wasn't like that. He was such a nice, honest lad.
Ref booked him and sent him off.
My best experience at Turf Moor was beating them 3-2. That was under Alan Irvine. He'd just come in just before Christmas, and we beat them 3-2. It was me and Paul Gallagher up front. Now Gally's a sitting midfield player for the first team now, but it was me and Gally up front. And
he came in on loan, didn't he? And we signed him.
Came in on loan, so it was me and Gally up front. Whaley was off one side, and that was a really good. That was an evening game, so we beat them 3-2. That was my best experience at Turf Moor because I scored.
Yeah, and then obviously there was the trip away to Bloomfield Road as well, where you scored 2 and Brownie scored 1.
No, other way round. Brownie got a brace and I scored 1.
Yeah.
That was a Sunday lunchtime sort of kick-off. Pitch was awful, the wind was blowing.
Because they had the stand down as well at that point,
It was a temporary stand. Yeah. And... my brother and my best mate had been on the piss the night before, and they said, right, we'll definitely make it. So I'm looking for them in the warm-ups. I don't know where they are, because I didn't. Obviously, I think it was sit where you want sort of thing for the away, and I couldn't see them. I'm thinking, so I'm playing the game, couldn't see them. Go in at half time, 1-0 down. Adam Amell scored a decent goal. He was doing all right for Blackpool at the time. Half time, lads are looking round saying it's not good enough. We need to be better. Irvine was on the case saying, lads, they're there for the taking. If we step it up, we can beat them second half. And sure enough, second half, Brownie gets one, and then I score back post. And as soon as I'd scored, I wanted to share the moment with the fans because all the fans were down the side of the pitch. So I've just legged it over there, and I don't know why I jumped into the away end. I just wanted to share it, and there was no stewards about. I thought, right, I'm in. And started jumping about with a few Preston fans. It was great. And sure enough, within 10 seconds of jumping about, my brother and my best mate popped up from absolutely nowhere, honking a veil because they'd been steaming the night before. But it was such a nice moment because I scored a goal. It was for North End against our big rivals Blackpool away from home, and it felt like sort of a winning moment. We weren't going to lose the game from them on, and to share it with my two closest mates was that was a real special moment to share. We won the game 3-1 eventually. Yeah,
and obviously it's not something you'd get away with now, is it? Did you get booked for it?
I got booked, but that's probably the best booking I ever received. And at the end of the game, some head of steward came over and said, just to let you know, when you jumped into the crowd, there was a steward that got knocked over, so you've got to go and apologise now. So I was like, okay, fine, no problem. So I went over and apologised. I said, listen, I got carried away. Sorry about that. Sorry. That was it. Thankfully, the steward was okay.
Yeah. So, obviously, some good times under Alan.
It's nice to talk about the highlights. Are you going to start talking about some negatives?
Well, I wouldn't say. Well, yeah, no, they are negatives.
Touched on the negatives with the injuries. Are you going to talk about some bad games that I've had here?
I can't remember many, to be honest. I've not made a note of any. So
Watford away. It was the worst playing. Now I mentioned Bloomfield Road there as a bad pitch, and it was a bad pitch. Blackpool. Watford away was shocking. It was slippy as anything, and I was wearing mouldies in the game. Now I loved wearing moulds, even if it was raining. I'd wear my copers, and I'm not slipping.
Weren't they quite a new thing at that time as well?
Copers?
No, the moulds underneath.
No, these were proper moulds. They weren't the blades, so it was a proper mouldy boot.
Oh right, okay.
So it was like the Beckenbauer boot.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, so Watford wearing moulds, not playing well. I think Sean Dyche was centre half. He was centre half for Watford. So we're going back. Might have been getting beat 1-0. I'm not playing well, and the ball goes down the channel, and I slip, and Irvine's on my case saying, "Get the right footwear on. You're unprepared. That's unprofessional." So I said, flipping heck. So I run over to the touchline. I don't know why. I said to the kit man, swap me boots. So I got changed, swapped my boots halfway through the first half. So we're a man down on the pitch. And Irvine, he's not even looking at me. He's that angry with me. Anyway, half time comes round. We're losing 1-0. And he goes mad at me. The first thing he says...
It's funny because he doesn't strike me as the kind of manager that would ever have...
Oh, he lost it. Oh, he lost it big time. And before he even talked about what had happened in the first half, he pointed at me and said, "Get changed, you're coming off." And I was just thinking, I know it's bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. Surely the boot thing must have changed his mind. So I got dragged off. It's not nice to get dragged off at half time. No, and Irvine did it occasionally to me, and that was probably the worst I'd played. Now, some Preston fans will pick out other games, of course. Yeah. That was one that sticks out to me.
Yeah.
So if there was any North End fans that went down to Watford that day and we did get beat 2 or 3, apologies for that. Yeah.
No, on the contrary to that, one game that sticks in my memory that I thought you had, and to be fair, I thought the whole team did. Can't remember if it was under Alan or if it was when Darren came in.
I'll tell you, go on.
But it was the Portsmouth game in the Cup when David James has played like a goalkeeper I've never seen play like that since. Yeah. I think you hit the bar from about 30 yards out.
I'm sure that was Irvine.
I think it was.
That was when Cart scored an own goal in the 95th minute, and it was like we'd missed a penalty. Whaley missed a penalty that day.
Who I don't think he'd missed many in his time at North End.
To be fair, he shouldn't have even been on pens. You know, he's not a penalty taker. And
that was in front of the town end as well, I think.
And then I bent one in the top corner. Jamo's pulled out a save that I've never seen him do before.
That was it. He didn't hit the bar. It was just an unbelievable save.
Yeah, and Portsmouth won the cup that year.
Yeah, they did. And we should have beaten them.
We were better than them. And even I think Harry Redknapp was very honest and said, "Listen, we got away with that." But that was the way it was, unfortunately. I mean, for cup games, in my time at Preston, we did well. We had that one against Portsmouth.
Yeah.
I've played City when we got beat 3-1. That was early on in my time, perhaps under Paul Simpson. We played Chelsea.
I think that was Nuge's last season with us, was it?
Yeah.
Because he scored, I think, didn't he?
Possibly. We played Chelsea when they were flying. We played Liverpool when they were top of the league, got beat 2-0. We played Tottenham, and that was our biggest defeat, 5-1 at Deepdale.
I remember that.
Crouchy and Defoe were playing.
They were unbelievable that night, to be fair, them two.
They were, might be Martin Yole time, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it was actually.
So Crouchy is somebody that I never played up front with, but when he signed for Liverpool, we got very close, so we had lots of nights out. But I did play with Jermaine Defoe down at West Ham. So cup experiences weren't great with Preston, really.
Yeah, I mean, you could say we've not really improved since. Played Arsenal, went 1-0 up. I think they were probably rightly the better team and won in the second half, but United...
Do you want a cup run, supporters? Or is it more about the promotion? Or both?
Well, I'm naturally a little bit pessimistic, having supported North End for so long. So I don't ever think I'll see us in the Prem.
Really?
Yeah, honestly. So I'd quite like a cup run.
Okay.
Even quarterfinals.
Yeah.
I'd be quite happy with that. To be honest, I'm happy if we're playing well and we're giving it a good go. And at the minute we are.
Preston, this is the first time I've watched Preston since I've retired and thought they've got a chance of the playoffs.
Yeah.
This is there's a couple of years ago when just missed out, but didn't.
Finished seventh.
This is a stronger Preston side since sort of my time when we got in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I'd completely agree. I think that season that you just mentioned when we finished 7th 3 years ago, Alex Neil's first one in charge. I don't know why, like you said, I just constantly just had a feeling that it would go wrong. Something would just happen. And I think ultimately it was the game that we played. Derby at home, maybe 6 games before the end of the season. Missed the pen, and then Tom Lawrence scored a free kick that he should never have scored in a million years. I think it went under the wall and beat the keeper at the near post. And it was, I mean, I'm not a professional footballer, but it shouldn't have, in my opinion, gone in. But
well, you need to do a podcast with a goalkeeper because I will never understand the mentality of a goalkeeper.
But yeah, so obviously plenty of good times under Alan.
Yeah.
And then I think you could say that it started to go downhill a little bit.
Yeah, that's very fair to say.
What was it like when... So did you, as a squad, did you find out that Fergie was coming in or did you just come in and it was like, here's the new manager?
Sky Sports News was still knocking about, wasn't it? He was rocking then, and Ferguson was seen getting out of his car with all his papers at Deepdale, so there was strong rumours, strong links that he was going to be the man taking over. He'd done well at Peterborough, and so it was a case of, right, okay, we've got to go again for the new manager. Darren Ferguson.
Was there any sort of like preconceptions of it with him being Darren Ferguson?
No. It wasn't sort of a negative. It was like, fine, new guy. Let's
see what he's all about.
Let's give it everything for him, sort of thing. Unfortunately for him, he inherited a very close dressing room.
Yeah.
And now you've heard the expression: if you lose the dressing room, you've got problems. Fergie lost us at Barnsley at home when we lost 4-1 at Deepdale. It was a big defeat, and after the game, he was very critical about us, which was fair.
Yeah. But as in to you in the dressing room?
The whole team. No, to the team, which was fair. Where he went wrong was when he said to us that he belittled our achievement of getting in the playoffs the season before and almost implied that we were lucky to be there. And to a group of lads that felt as though we'd worked hard for that.
Yeah.
And okay, we missed out. We'd worked our nuts off to get in the playoffs that year. So we felt so. Unfortunately, he said it, and Big Parky was in the dressing room, and from that moment onwards, if you look at our form, we dipped and we just about stayed up that season.
Yeah.
And
I think for me, the moment that I'd had enough with Fergie, and I'm never one that will go on and I'll never boo the players. I'll never boo. In fact, no, I tell a lie. I booed when Wesley was there.
Yeah.
But I think that was extenuating circumstances. But I think what was the final straw for me was the game at home on a Friday night. I think it was against Hull on TV, and we were just awful.
Was that the year Preston went down?
Yeah.
Because I'd left, so we'd just stayed up, and Fergie had called everyone into a meeting at the end of that season.
Yeah.
And there was 12 of us that weren't wanted.
Jesus.
So it was a big part of the squad. And again, we're talking about a pre-season having a big impact on the season for Paul Simpson.
Yeah.
We had a disrupted one. Under Alan Irvine, every pre-season was hard. It was meticulous.
Yeah.
We were ready for the season.
I've heard, just on that, I've heard Parky saying on his pod about it was always a lot of fitness. You'd go down to Lytham, a lot of running on the sand dunes or on the sand and all that sort of stuff.
Not Parky's favourite.
No, it doesn't. Well, I mean, from what he said on the podcast, it wasn't his cup of tea at all.
No, it wasn't mine either. Centre forwards, we didn't enjoy that.
Yeah,
but it worked, and we all did it.
Yeah.
But under Darren, what he did was, and what happened, which was a big problem for him, first day of pre-season, 12 players that were no longer wanted under him, which is fine because the manager's got, of course, entitled to that, were put in a separate dressing room, which had been at the training ground, which had been the youth team coach's office with computers. That had been cleared out, and we were now 12 outcasts from the first team.
So he literally just separated you.
So separated us, and I'd spoke to him the week before and said, treat me properly because I'm a senior player.
Yeah.
Don't push me don't put me with the kids. I'm a first team player.
Yeah.
And I'll try and find a club. So there's a couple of championship clubs that wanted to take me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't right. So I was happy to try and fight for my place. Anyway, bang, day one, we're in this separate dressing room, and I kid you not, day one, 12 of us are in there. The likes of me, Chaplow, Neely Collins, and Stephen Elliott. There was a load of us, and all the players that were in the first team dressing room came and sat with us in our dressing room. So you've separated straight away what was a tight group to a separated two dressing rooms. And this is pre-season, so it's disrupted. And the lads, I went on day 3 of pre-season to Sheffield Wednesday eventually.
So you got out early.
So I got out early, but some players were there for 4 weeks, some were there for like 8 weeks, 12 weeks. That's pre-season disruption, where it's not a happy, settled environment, and it caused.
And if you can't,
that was the season Preston went down.
Yeah.
So had that been handled differently, perhaps the dressing room dynamics may have helped results on the pitch. Now, if you say to me, what was Fergie like? I liked him. I thought his coaching sessions were good.
Yeah.
The problem I had was, who wants to be rejected? I was rejected by Fergie. I no one wants to be rejected, and I was rejected and didn't like that.
There's been a lot said about, and I know obviously there's players that don't like him or didn't like him at the time, but since and the same with Paul Simpson. I think when I spoke to Chris, he said about Simo that even though he got from the outside looking in, it looked like he was like a bad manager and all that sort of stuff.
Nice guy, Simo.
Chris said, "Look, I got on with him fine as a person, as a bloke," and he said the same about Fergie. He said, "I got on fine with him, not an issue with him at all." From a personal point of view, it was just the way that he went about certain things.
My problem I thought Simo had was he was too nice.
Yeah,
I liked him, and if you're too nice, he's chopping and changing the team. He's not perhaps been as ruthless as he needed to be. That there was a sense of that.
Another thing Chris mentioned. That he reckoned that might have been a point when he started to lose some of the senior players in the squad when he came in was on the pre-season tour in America. Excuse me. I think he said it was Graham Alexander and him and a few others were sat around the table with Simo and they were just chatting. And I think he said it was Graham Alexander that asked him, like, so what was behind like what you've done at Carlisle? Like, what was the reason that it worked so well? And apparently he was just like, I don't know, it just worked. Okay. And I think from what Sedgy said, I think Grezza was a bit like, okay, well, you're a manager and you don't know what you've done to make it work so well. Like, what are you going to bring here, sort of thing. And I think that, from what Sedgy said, that was maybe the start of when he started to lose a little bit of, not respect, but...
possibly. I mean, I wasn't a senior player at that time. I was new to the football club. My experience with Simo was good. There was too many centre forwards there for me. You know, I'm challenging with Dikio, Brett Olmanrod was there, Nuge was there, Ajimang was there, Galley was there, and I'm pretty sure he brought in Andy Carroll. I'm not sure on that one, but there was. I was thinking, when we're going to get 3 or 4 games in a row where I can sort of play. So there's a lot of strikers there.
I forgot. Hajiman was still there.
Remember the overhead kick he scored against West Brom from the edge of the box? What a beauty that was.
What was he like in training?
Haji?
Yeah.
Fast. He'd pull off something like that, but then he'd put one wide from like 3 yards.
Yeah,
and think, how did you miss that?
He looked a bit reckless at times. Or he looked like he could have been a bit reckless.
He wasn't a natural finisher.
Yeah.
But he was a powerful boy who got into good positions. And again, he was a nice lad.
Yeah.
You know, he worked hard. He was very honest. He wasn't disruptive at all. He was a nice lad, and I'll always remember that overhead kick.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one. So obviously Darren came in. You went out on loan for the season.
Sheffield Wednesday, Alan Irvine. Yeah,
made sense.
But I'm still keeping in touch with my mates and seeing you're in a relegation battle here.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you're not going to stay up. So I'd left and quite a few others had, and sure enough Preston went down that season. But I still had another year left on my contract. So I knew I was always coming back to Preston. So
was your intention, even though you're on loan, to come back and maybe whoever the next man was, just try and fight for another
unfortunately
place?
For managers, I had a 2-year contract and I thought, every chance you don't want me, every chance the next manager will.
Yeah.
So I'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But I had a good year at Sheffield Wednesday. I'd scored 20 goals. I'd got Player of the Year, and they wanted to sign me. But it was only Phil Brown at Preston, who was then in charge, convinced me to sort of stay. Bearing in mind, I'd gone back to Preston and I'd left a team that I thought could challenge for the playoffs to a team that I thought, oh my God, I'm not surprised you've been relegated. So I'm looking around thinking, have we got any chance of going up?
He brought in, who the hell did he bring in on loan? Eddie Johnson, winger.
Okay.
And it was, I think that was the January. And then we obviously got relegated at the end of that year. Yeah. And I just remember thinking, like, there's some players that he's brought in here that we just don't stand a chance.
It was unrecognisable, wasn't it?
Leon Clark, I think he brought in. Now I know Leon's gone on to have a good career elsewhere, but he couldn't hit a barn door for us. No, could not hit a barn door.
But the biggest problem Preston had was we had such a tight, close dressing room.
Yeah,
and to see it broken up so quickly was always going to end one way, and that was unfortunately a relegation.
Yeah, it's crazy to think where we'd gone from to where we ended up in that sort of period of time, because we were flying high, 2 seasons under Billy Davis, challenging for the playoffs. I think 4 years prior to that, we'd come up or 2 years prior to that, maybe we'd come up from what was Division.
Was that Moisey?
Under Moisey. So in like 10 years, we've gone from promotion, pushing on the playoffs. Obviously, we got beat, pushing for the Prem. Sorry.
Yeah.
Got beat in the playoff final against Bolton.
There'd been a real positive momentum, hadn't there?
Yeah.
The club had been feeling good.
Even when Craig Brown came in, and there was 2 years of sort of, some may say, mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
We were mid-table. Arguably, we could have done better.
Yeah.
And then obviously he left. Billy took us on to the playoffs. 2 seasons on the trot. Simo came in, just missed out on the playoffs,
but always competing at the top end that season.
Then he left. We were mid-table ish, bottom half.
No, we were. I remember losing New Year's Day at Sheffield Wednesday, bottom of the table on the Simo. We lost 2-1 at Wednesday. Me and Andy Carroll came off the bench at 1-1. I've squared one to the big tree man, and he's missed it. And I'm saying, what was going on? You should be putting that in. Less than a minute later, they score and we lose the game. Bottom of the table. Doing the warm down on the pitch, thinking we are bottom of the table. We're in a dogfight here.
And that's it.
And that
pretty shit feeling, I can imagine.
Yeah. That was. That must have been. Irvine must have been in charge. Irvine was in charge because Simo went after I'd missed that penalty at Barnsley. Last minute, 1-0 down. I've got a penalty, and I've put it.
Did you miss it?
No, didn't miss it. It was one of the best saves I've ever seen. I've put it in the top corner, and I swear this guy was called Mellor. Heinz Mellor, this German keeper. And I still don't know how he saved it to this day.
Your memories are unbelievable.
You don't forget someone who just shouldn't have saved the penalty, and he did.
True.
And it was the last minute, and it's in front of the North End fans, and we lose. And everyone that's been to Barnsley knows where the away end is. Yeah. They know where the tunnel is, and if you lose, you're getting hammered by your fans. And I deserved it because I'd missed a penalty in the last minute, and it cost us. And Simo didn't last much longer after that. So that was before Christmas, and that Sheffield Wednesday game was after.
Jeez. Yeah, I don't really remember that, to be honest.
Good. Erase it from your memory.
It's already gone.
A Barnsley fan showed it me the other week on YouTube. He was like, look at this save, it was your penalty. I was like, yeah, no, cheers.
Yeah, thanks for that. So coming back to North End then, like you mentioned before, Phil Brown sort of convinced you to come back.
Yeah.
Was it one of them that you just thought, season's finished, I'm going to sign Chef Wednesday, and then he's got in touch, or do you naturally have to come back to the club because you're under contract?
Southampton was sniffing about at the time as well. Sheffield Wednesday offered me a 2-year contract, but the manager was Gary Megson, and he dropped me, believe it or not, for 10 games because I gave a penalty away.
Jesus.
And I was top scorer, and he dropped me for 10 games, and I was like, are you for real? For giving this penalty.
Literally just for giving a penalty.
Dragged me off at half time, said you've cost us the game, Rochdale away. I was like, Gaffer, we've still got the second half. No, you've cost us. So I didn't play for 10 games. He took me to Carlisle away, unused sub. Dagenham and Redbridge away, unused sub. Bournemouth away, unused sub. I was like, I'm top scorer, when's he going to put me on the pitch? Eventually he did, and I finished the season really strongly for him. And I got to really like him.
Yeah.
But I couldn't trust he wouldn't do that again. And then I've got a manager at Preston, which was Phil Brown, saying, right, you're the big part of this. You've got a year left. Let's go for it. Let's go for promotion. So I was like, right, okay. Let's sort of see how pre-season goes. Pre-season was brilliant. So I was like,
because he promoted a lot of the young lads, didn't he?
Yeah, there was Proc that got to get a run out. Jamie Proctor.
Danny Mayer came through.
Danny Mayer.
There is a young...
Conor McLaughlin.
There's a young lad in midfield, ginger lad.
Barton, what's he called?
Adam Barton.
And then
there was another smaller lad. What the hell was his name?
In midfield, ginger lad. Don't remember him.
Oh, I can't remember. Anyway.
Yeah, so Phil Brown convinced me. He played me for every minute of every game, so I really enjoyed working.
Yeah, we went on that mental run, didn't we, at the start of the season? Do
you know what he did? He said, right, here you go. Here's the, what's it called, where you write on it, the chart, whatever it is. Whiteboard. There's 5 games in the first month, which was August. If you get 10 points, I'll buy you all a suit. So buy us all a suit. Happy days. Have a bit of that. Sure enough, last game we were on 7 after 4. Needed to win, whatever it was. Bang, we won. 10 points, 5 games, suit. Next month, if you get 10 points in, might be 5 games again. Buy a pair of shoes. nailed it again. So everyone was buzzing. So the incentive was there. But we went on that really good run of 7 games where we won 7 in a row. It was me and Ian Hume up front, me and Proctor up front, Ian Hume in behind.
Yeah.
We had Grezza sitting in playing a diamond. Cutesy was playing. We were a good side.
Yeah, because
Carlisle
Grezza
at the back.
had come back at that point, hadn't he?
Grezza was back in the team. We were absolutely flying, and we were. I think Charlton had gone better than us at the start, but we were pretty much second or third. We went to bottom in the table late in Orient, and first minute, it was the hottest day I've ever seen. By the way, in October, it was like 100 degrees. Cutesy scores 1-0. We're all laughing, going, we're going to beat these, we're going to batter these. And then Orient scored 2 goals, and we had a young keeper who might have been making his debut, Stav. Young kid.
I remember him, yeah.
And I swear to God, if you see the goals again, you're saying he saves it. So it cost us big time. So at half time, what do you say to a young kid at half time who's cost you, whose confidence is fragile, is on the floor? So you think, okay, that's right, we go again, we know we'll score. First minute of the second half, cross comes in, I'm at the back post, I head it. Defender gives me a nudge, penalty. Referee buys it, points to the penalty spot. Chance for an equaliser. Who steps up? Graham Alexander. When has Graham Alexander ever missed a penalty for Preston North End? Well, any Preston fan that was at Leyton Orient that day will vouch. Grezza missed the penalty. So we're 2-1. We're chasing that equalising goal.
Yeah.
I hit the post. Yumi hits the post. We're battering them. Couldn't score. We lose the game 2-1. And then that was it. The run was over. I got injured next game for a ridiculous tackle at Warsaw. Lad was Chambers. He ruptured my ankle. It was a disgusting challenge. And the referee said to me, I didn't know who did it. So I just booked the nearest player. I said, ref, he's done me there. So I was on crutches. I was told I was out for 12 weeks. Rushed it back because we were struggling, back after 5. And just wasn't the same. I think we'd won in the time that I was out. We were struggling.
So does that something, looking back, that you regret a little bit, rushing back?
Every football club will rush a player back.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't think?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Without a doubt. That's the way it is.
Showing my naivety there.
But plus a player wants to get back. So
true.
So there's that wanting to get back. And I say every club. A club that is struggling in terms of results and a key senior player wants to get back out there.
You want to do your best to get back.
You're going to be back there, really.
Yeah.
And that was the case. I was in bits. Southend away in the FA Cup. Couldn't even walk with my ankle. But I was out there. And we got beat 1-0 at Roots Hall.
So how'd you get through 9 minutes like that?
Tough. Painkilling.
Literally just take painkillers?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
And people say footballers are soft.
Yeah, so that was tough. But scored my last ever goal for North End. Hartlepool away in the black kit.
Yeah.
Like that one.
Yeah.
1-0 away, midweek, Hartlepool. That was...
I like that kit. That was the season we just went black and white, didn't we?
Yeah.
White and blue, obviously, with the trim, and then the black one. And then I think it was the season after that we had the pink one, which I don't think went down too well with many fans. But
I'd retired by then. My retirement was written by Graham Wesley, but anyway, that's another story.
Well, yeah, we'll come on to that briefly.
Very briefly.
Phil Brown was... I remember going to a fans forum up in Lancaster, I think it was.
I was there.
Were you?
I've definitely been up there to Lancaster to do a fans forum.
I think he was on his own.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe a different one.
It was around the start of the season, or we hadn't started the season, it was still pre-season.
Okay.
And he had the gift of the gab. I'll tell you what, he could sell you a vision.
Yeah.
Because there was only maybe about 20-30 fans in this social club, it was tiny. And everyone left with a massive smile on the face, and they were like, we're going up.
I like him. Do you know what, even to this day I like him. I know he's had a bad sort of mentions of a few people, but I like Phil. His training sessions were great. He had Brian Horton as his assistant manager. They were a great combination. The squad we had at Preston was thin. It was thin on quality, so the injuries to me, Hume, really knocked us back because we were goals in the team that season.
What was Hume like?
Great lad. When I arrived, Hume had been at Preston while I was away. Yeah,
I think he'd signed on loan at first, and then we signed him permanently.
Good lad. I mean, the fans liked him. He worked tirelessly hard. He worked, and he was a genuine lad. He was prepared for every game. focused and did his best. I really got on with Hume and enjoyed playing with him.
Who is, so obviously you played with maybe 10, 12 different strike partners, if not more.
Yeah.
Who is your favourite one?
Who's my favourite one? Oh, probably Chrissy Brown.
Yeah.
Chrissy Brown. What Christmas party once down in Dublin, and we were all been drinking all day and we were all singing "We All Dream of a Team of Chrissy Browns." He was a player who was appreciated by the players.
I think the fans sung that at some point.
Did
as
they?
Well, I think
they might have seen the video that may have been doing the rounds.
Yeah, maybe.
So
maybe.
I mean, do you know what? Brownie is a centre forward. I don't think he ever scored 20 goals in his career.
No.
But what he did was he was a team player. So he'd, like I mentioned about Parky, he'd occupy two centre halves, so I could make the run. He'd look after the ball. He was strong. He was aggressive. And again, you want good characters around the dressing room. Brownie was that good character.
Yeah.
We linked up probably better than me and Parky did in terms of my goal ratio.
Yeah.
And so when Brownie was fit, I really enjoyed playing alongside him.
What was your favourite memory from being at North End? Under sort of each different manager that you played?
Yeah. Favourite memory. Of course, there's good and bad for all the managers that I played under. Simo, favourite memory would probably be that goal that I scored, my first ever goal for Preston at Southampton at home. Under Alan Irvine, there was a lot more happy memories.
Yeah.
Beating Burnley away was a good one. Beating Burnley at home, scoring in both of those games. Blackpool away was probably the standout out of all my time.
Up there,
at Preston, because as I explained, I'd scored. It was a big away following. It was our rivals. My brother and my best mate were there. Everything was really on.
Everything
was there. Best goal for Preston was actually at Deepdale against Sheffield United. That was under Alan Irvine. And Morgan, remember Morgan, the centre half?
Yeah.
I got him sent off in the game because he gets too tight to you. So like, fine, you keep coming tight, I'm going to knock it, I'm going to wait for you to take me out, and I'll get you sent off. Sure enough, in the game, 2 yellow cards, he's off. Done him a treat. So I'd scored one, and it was last minute, 2-1 up. I'd picked the ball up on the halfway line on my head, headed it past the fullback, chested it past the centre half, and I burst into about 40 yards of empty grass, 1v1 with Paddy Kenny, and I've blasted it into the top corner at the town end. So it was that was
everything.
That was my best goal. Whilst it didn't really mean a great deal because it was an end of season game, Sheffield United. But that was a really good goal. So
was that the season of the playoffs again?
That was the season that Irvine came in. We were safe, and then the next season we went playoffs.
Because he took us on an unbelievable run to keep us up.
Yeah.
Considering we looked dead and buried when he came in.
Yeah.
And obviously where we ended up. Because he was he an under 21s coach, under 23s
No,
coach?
he was assistant manager to Moyes at Everton.
Oh, right.
So he'd been there for a good few years. So he was well liked within the first team at Everton before he arrived.
So you already had that sort of dressing room experience then, if you will.
So maybe that was Irvine. It was after Irvine. Ferguson, good memory. Probably my best memory under Ferguson was him adamant we had to beat Peterborough away. So that was his old club. Went to Peterborough away, done the team news, and for the first time I think in my career I was playing right wing. I was like, right wing? I'm a centre forward. So he put me right wing, and I scored the only goal of the game. We beat them 1-0, but that was good because he was made up. I was made up and scored the winning goal. It was after that. That was then Phil Brown. Wickham away, 4-3. We were 3-2 down, and then we went on to win the game 4-3. I think Ainsworth was playing for Wickham that day. That was a good one. Enjoyed that. I think after that I got Player of the Month as well. I scored quite a few goals that month. That was a good one under Brown. And then Wesley, probably best just leaving that one out. But I did play 7 minutes one.
So on Graham Wesley, I don't know if it's in...
How much time have we got? Time's running out. It's time to...
I don't know if it's in Clark Carlisle's book or if it's just a story that's been doing the rounds, but apparently when he came in, he met all the players, and before he left, he turned around and said, by the way, my kids don't call me dad, they call me medal winner. And that's where he got the nickname from. Did that actually happen?
Yeah, it did. It was a match day. I was injured at the time. Greza was taking the game. No idea who it was. It was at Deepdale. And when a new manager's appointed, there was a lot of like, it can't be him. Don't want it to be him. The first time I've ever experienced that, because of all the rumours we'd heard previously about him at Stevenage. Sure enough, he got the job, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, what's this going to be like?"
We had again,
not even met him, and everyone was like, oh, "What's going to happen?" So everyone's ready for the game, and he calls them into the players' lounge and does this chat. Now I wasn't playing, but the other players wanted to play the game, and he's talking about taking over. So Clark Carlisle stood up and went, "Gaffer, got a game to prepare for, let's do this Monday." And he walked out. So straight away, he was a senior boy, so everyone was like, "Yeah, let's go."
Follow him.
But then he was out within a week of taking over. Listen, the terminology used for Graham Westley in the press for all the players was, Graham Westley is different. He's different.
That's a polite way of putting it, I think.
So that's what he was. He was the only manager I ever had that had never played or managed at the top level, and it was evident from day one.
So what was it like when he brought all the lads in from Stevenage? Well, all the lads. I think he brought Scott Laird in, or had you left at that point?
I think I'd left. He brought in Proctor, a centre half from Aldershot. Forget his name. Played him up. Played him up front at Sheffield Wednesday.
Anthony Eldon.
He brought in 3 or 4 anyway, and the problem was it was like the dressing room was not a happy place.
I think again though he'd walked into, from what I'm seeing from the outside looking in, a dressing room that Phil Brown had built up with a few senior pros, yourself, Clark Carlisle,
Grezza,
Ian Hume,
Cootsy was
Paul Coots, and again sort of just alienated you immediately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he didn't have the trust of the team, the squad, the dressing room, and it was not a nice place to be. Now, I was injured at the time, and I wasn't aware that it was going to be a career-ending injury, but it was a horrible place. Now I've seen Preston. We've been in the playoffs. It was a great environment to be. Love coming into work. It was a horrible place to be going into every single day. And throughout my career, that was I'm injured, so that may have influenced things. It was the worst time of my career.
Yeah, I think it's probably the worst time I've had as a fan, without a doubt. And it was, we would start making the national press for weird stuff, and the first couple of times it was a bit like, oh bloody hell, like we're in like on the Daily Mail online or whatever it was.
Well, there was a big story that leaked, you see, and he blamed me for it because I was starting to do media work, but it wasn't me.
About the text message.
The text messages, and he blamed me, and I'm going, Gaffer, it's not me. Like I don't, even to this day, the dressing room, no one ever said who it was. So I don't know how that got out. It could have been an agent, it could have been anything.
Yeah, anybody.
But he came for me on that, and I said, Gaffer, that wasn't me. Because whilst I don't like this environment, I'm part of this football club. Why am I going to kill people off? But he texted me at 1:30 in the morning, a big long message, probably still got it on my phone, saying, for those of you, it was a generic text that sent to everyone. For those of you in the squad tomorrow, report at this time. For those of you that are training, report at this time. For those of you that are injured, report at this time. Just to let you know, all those players that are not in the squad are not allowed to see the players before the game, so I can't say hello and all the best to my mates. You got to wait in the players' lounge till 5:30 till you are dismissed. GW. And it was like 1:30 in the morning. So I was like, is he for real? So I spoke to my agent. Now I don't have an agent, I was with the PFA, so they represented me. And I said, I've got kids, young kids. I get woke up in the middle of the night by my kids. I ain't having my manager texting me at 1:30 in the morning, waking me up.
Yeah.
That's just not on. What's going on here? Is he going to text me every Friday night at 1:30 in the morning? You know, is it what's going on?
Mind baffles.
I've gone from managers who talk to players in a way. So that was one of the battles, challenges that we were dealing with this manager. Whether he lost track of time, I don't know, but that was unacceptable, and that was an example of how he conducted himself in week 1 of being Preston North End manager.
Ridiculous.
It was.
Yeah, I think we'll leave that one there.
Let's leave it before I get myself in trouble.
Yeah. So obviously, you ended up retiring quite early.
Way too early. Way too early. Do you know what?
When I 29, 30?
That season when I retired, it was the best I felt.
Yeah.
With my body. Mentally, I was in the best place I'd ever been.
Yeah.
I'd had a bit of a realisation at Sheffield Wednesday. I was on the bench for a game in League One, Yeovil away, and I was sat there thinking, what is going on? I'm at Yeovil, which is an absolute dump of a place from where I'd been. I'm on the bench. So I was like, oh my God. So I started to see a psychologist who'd been a football player, who'd been a football manager. Lee Richardson, his name was. And I said, what's going on? He said, right, well, we'll work with you. So mentally I started getting myself more in tune with, more focused about what I needed to be as a player. I'd never had a hat-trick before. I was like, I'm a centre forward, what's going on?
Yeah.
And sure enough, within 2 weeks I'd scored a couple of hat-tricks. I was flying. I'd had a 1-in-2 record from that point, even up to the point I retired. And I felt great. And I remember getting Player of the Month at Preston, but thinking, I want to take Preston up here. I was in my last year of my contract. There was quite a few clubs talking about being interested in me, but I was like, no, I'm seeing it out. I want to do well here for my final season, get back into the Championship.
Leave on a high sort of thing.
And then so the injury that I sustained to end my career came out of the blue. I was not ready for that. I was like 29 and ready to kick on. Right, I've still got years left in me.
Yeah.
I was living the dream of being a professional football player. That's all I'd ever wanted to be from a young player, and I was getting to experience that. So that was a very difficult time for me to accept that I could no longer be a player. I was crying for a long time about that.
I can imagine it.
That was tough.
So was it, I assume, a family decision, not just one that you'd taken upon yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, medical advice as well. It was.
Was it your knee?
Unfortunately, it was both knees. So,
right.
So it wasn't like isolated to one knee.
Yeah.
It was both knees. Listen, I could tell you how many operations I've had, all the different injuries, the fallouts I've had with medical staff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, is it an excuse? It was part of what the cards I was dealt with my career. It affected my career from a very young age. So people will remember me for when I burst onto the scene at Liverpool, when I scored a goal against Arsenal. I was taking painkillers, killing injections to get through that game. I was struggling from a young boy. So I was lucky to have the career I had. And I can sit here now, I'm on the Preston podcast. I love my time at Preston.
Yeah.
I got to experience some moments. Some fans will remember some good times. Some fans will remember some bad times. But it's nice to have experienced it of being a football player. So I can look back and say, I'd love to have got promoted to the Premier League with Preston. I didn't, but I had some good times. So I got to live that. Injury cut it short. So who knows what might have happened.
Do you think you'd still be playing now?
Yeah. I love the game. And I see some players retire and they say, I can't drop down that low. I would be playing North West Counties League because I love football. And so I watch it. I love the English leagues, from the Premier League right down to the North West Counties. I look at all the different levels because I think in this country I've always been brought up with my football and I absolutely love it.
So have you always sort of wanted to go into the media thing, or has it just been a progression that's happened? Or?
Yeah, I had an interest when I first got in. Well, when I was injured at North End, we played Birmingham away, and it was the Christmas time. And Nuge, we beat Birmingham away. Nuge scored. Was it 2-1, 3-2? They had Mwamba playing. They had Bentner playing. They had a good side, Birmingham, but we went there and we beat them. And that was the first time I'd done Radio Lancs. And that was something that I really enjoyed. So I maintained that throughout my career.
Right.
I did a bit of stuff for the Post. Evening Post. I did Liverpool TV. So I always had an interest, starting my degree doing the media side of things. So when players come out of the game, everyone thinks, go into coaching. I do grassroots coaching now. The school football team, which is nice. But I've no interest to go into coaching at this point. It's always been the media side of things.
I think we'll call that a podcast. It's an hour and 3 minutes, so I'll get
happy with
some
that?
time out of that. I'm very happy. Cheers, mate.